Community Podcast.
Hi, guys. Welcome to the Community Podcast. Today, I am joined with our director, James Smith, as he celebrates his 10-year anniversary with Louisa County Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. So to kick us off, James, tell us a little bit about your background and what got you started here at Parks and Recs.
So my background, I think, starts when I was as a youth growing up in Louisa County, participating in sports and just my passion, not just for the sports, but watching the people around me and the impact that they had on me as a 6, 7, 8-year-old young man or young child, trying to get used to a new area, a new environment, because we had moved out to Louisa from Henrico, and just having people that at a young age to see that they cared about you and not just about what you could do on the field or the court. So I think that's where my passion started.
All right. So I know you weren't always the director. What was your position that you held prior?
So with the department, I started off as a recreation supervisor with the department.
And what led you to the position that you are now?
So after about 7 months with the department, the director that was here was eventually let go, and they moved me up to interim director. And then after a couple months, I was made the director of Parks and Rec.
What changes have you seen in the community? I know 2016, 10 years ago, it's crazy to see them. It feels like it was not that long ago. But what changes have you seen in the community overall in that time?
I think for the most part, the community itself is the same in terms of the connection and just the strength that we have of people that are part of this community. I think the only change is the population and the growth in the community. Which means, we need to offer more programs and there's more needs out there for us to try to meet.
Yeah. So what would you say your leadership style is?
Good question. and part of this probably comes from my experience with the YMCA. I would say I'm a servant leader. My goal is to be able to impact people, whether it's the staff that are under me or whether it's the people that we are providing programs for. I kind of look at the opportunity that, there's a saying, to whom much is given, much is required. And I feel like if I have that opportunity to make a difference or impact someone, I want to make sure, I take it.
Mm-hmm. What do you think makes Parks and Recs special or unique and compared to other departments or other recreation organizations?
I think just community driven. When I look at the staff that we have here and their desire not just to come in and work, get a job and get the job done and then leave, but to actually make an impact. When we have our events, we look at the outcome and talk about the outcome before we even, get started, because that's what we want to focus on. We want to make sure we provide an outcome that's beneficial, that makes a difference, that's impactful, and we like, hopefully when people leave, to see the smiles on their faces and, knowing that they enjoyed the opportunity to either participate in a program or come out to one of our events.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that we have a really unique team here and that we all are sort of like a family as we are a community that works for our community. I think that, we see your servant leadership and we are all inspired and want to give back to our whole community and where we live and the people who deserve it the most. Let's see. All right, I know you kept saying a word, and it's impact. How do you see our department impacting Louisa County citizens?
Well, we try in every program, try to figure out how we can have a positive impact. Whether it's pickleball, whether it's a youth basketball league or whatever it may be. We try to look at it when we design the program to make sure that there's some type of positive impact that's maybe outside of the actual sport or event or activity. So when you think of something like pickleball, you think about the opportunity for people to come here, build relationships, to connect. For me, it's neat when I hear comments about, oh, they're going out to lunch after pickleball. Because that's how we strengthen our community, by building those relationships. And to provide pickleball here 5 days, 6 days a week, it's more about the sport, to some people, but also for us, it's more about the opportunity for us to connect people and build relationships and make our community even stronger.
All right, looking ahead, let's say you have this magic 8-ball in front of you. What does Louisa County, we'll start off with the county, look like in 5 to 10 years?
The county, I think with the growth of population, I think that there'll be a strong drive for more opportunities, whether it's from programs, whether it's for classes and activities that we offer, or it might just be for space. It may be need for gyms or pickleball courts or something, along those lines. But I think with the growth, there is going to be a need for more recreational opportunities for citizens in the community.
Yeah. How do you see our staff being able to serve the citizens as our county continues to grow?
Yeah. Well, I think what's neat about what we do is we start off young. When we look at our programs, we started providing preschool programs to be able to introduce people that may not be familiar with Parks and Rec to Parks and Rec through our preschool programs and then our after-school programs. So we, I think, have a niche where we're able to reach not just a certain group or a certain age group. We can start young. We can meet youth that are in school through our after-school programs and different programs that we offer, the youth sports programs. And then we can take it all the way up to adults, whether it's sewing, painting, whatever activity that may be of interest. But I think what makes us special is the opportunity that we have to kind of reach out and bring people in at different ages and actually allow them to maybe find something that they are passionate about, no matter what age they are.
So we have a motto here: building community, changing lives, making memories. How'd you come up with that?
Again, this probably goes back to my days with the YMCA. Mm-hmm. The YMCA is very servant-driven and passionate about being able to impact people. And when I came back, I wanted to bring that here. Mm-hmm. I wanted to establish a motto or a slogan or whatever you want to call it that would allow everybody to see what our goal was. And also, we do a lot of planning for our programs, so it's neat for us to be able to plan knowing this is what we want to do. So as we work on a program, does it build community? Mm-hmm. We would ask ourselves those questions to make sure we're creating programs that align with our vision and mission. And I think it's important to have that alignment when you're leading a department like this that has the opportunity to impact so many people.
So speaking about looking at our programs, things like that, what type of new programs do you hope to see our department be able to offer?
Well, I'm excited about the turf fields. I think that opens a brand new door of opportunity for us, also for the school system as well. I mean, I'm looking forward to maybe lacrosse down the road with but also the opportunity to do more during the summer with our Parks and Rec participants, getting them out on the turf fields. And, we started the flag football program again recently, and that's going well so far. And they're using the turf fields. I think the turf fields just opens the door for more activity year-round for us from an athletic standpoint.
So if somebody was looking to join our team, what type of qualities or characteristics do you think that you would be looking for?
I want somebody who's passionate about making a difference, who wants to come to work not just because of the financial part of it, but also who wants to impact people, who hopefully after their time here will feel like they've made a difference, they impacted the community. And I'm looking for people who fit in, who are part of this community and want to see this community just be successful and thrive.
Yeah. So if you were not in this field, what do you think you'd be doing?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think if you say field, it would probably be something more with maybe like a YMCA, that type of environment. Something that's more servant-driven, where it's not about me, it's about the opportunity that I have to impact people, whether it's through programs or people or relationships. So for me, it's really about giving back. So it would be some position or some opportunity that would allow me to give back to the community. I think Louisa is a special community, and I just remember as a youth growing up, there were so many people that knew me through football, but it just felt like family. I would go somewhere and people were talking to me like we were best friends, asking me about football and life and in general. And there were coaches who played a big part in my development. My dad ran a store, a video store for the longest time, and I would be up in there working on the weekends, and people would come talk to me about football or different things going on. And it's just that relationship where those relationships that we had that I had at such a young age meant a lot that people cared and talked, and just to see this community at this point still, I'll be out somewhere and somebody will come up and start talking to me. Hey, I remember this, or I remember that, and it's special. It's I guess a lot of people have the opportunity to sow back into the community that sowed into them. And I feel like in this position, I have that opportunity.
Yeah. And I think that, that what you're saying is being a part of this community is more than just being there, but investing back into it is something that all of us here want to see happen and are doing our part in trying to make it actually happen.
Sure. And also, I guess as an adult now, a parent with 3 boys, I also realize the challenges that youth have growing up. And I want to make sure, when we offer our programs, especially through our child care programs, that we offer added value by having things that will build them up, make them stronger, improve their confidence, things that just make them stronger and help them prepare for their next level, whether it's middle school or whatever it may be.
Yeah. What do you think your proudest accomplishment has been throughout your role here?
That's a good question. I don't know if I have one. I think, when I look at our events, I think the father-daughter dance is something that just because of the impact that we have with that father-daughter dance, just to see an event grow from one night to now 2 nights, and from maybe 300 people to now close to 800 people coming out to our father-daughter dance. I think that's one of the events just because of the impact that you see at the events. I mean, I'm DJing, but I also get to look down and watch the father and daughters dance together and the eye-to-eye contact and just the glow that people have. The daughter is so happy just to be spending time with dad. And I think for us to be able to create programs like that, it may look like a small thing, but, I think it has a big impact on strengthening the family dynamics.
Yeah, I think that's always been something that's been near and dear to my heart. I was able to attend those dances as a kid, and now I'm able to make those dances happen for my daughter. So it's always something really special and sweet, and it does make you want to tear up sometimes too.
It does. But I think, that's, even with that, our sports programs, someone who grew up playing sports and just realizing the impact that coaches had on kids has always been something to me that I look at as an opportunity to reach kids as well. Whether it's basketball, whatever the sport may be, that's an opportunity for us to not just show that we want you to be a better basketball player, but we can sow into our kids. Like I said, we have the opportunity to find coaches that care more about the development of our youth than just being a basketball player. But they use the basketball program to provide that encouragement, that motivation. As a youth, and I think I've shared before, I just remember coaches coming up to me and talking to me afterwards from different teams. And, I think I shared that the first person outside of my family that said, "I love you," was actually a coach here in Louisa County. And it just meant so much to me then, because I'm out there trying to impress, do whatever I can. And, you're going to make mistakes, but he didn't worry about the mistakes. He focused on the things that I was doing right and encouraged me to continue doing those things. So I think, the impact that we have through Parks and Rec and the coaches and setting a bar where we want people who come in and make a difference from a staff standpoint, it's going to make a difference, hopefully, long beyond my time here with Parks and Rec.
So speaking about that, how can we leave a legacy for our community?
I think we need to continue what we're doing. I think, the opportunity for us right now is to recognize and build, continue to strengthen our coaches. I think, that sometimes we get to the point where we're last minute trying to find coaches, and I want the coach to realize that the impact that they have or could have. So if we can really stress that impact and recognize and reward the coaches for the impact that they're having, I think that will help strengthen our programs. Long term, I don't know. I think we just need to continue to be very, I guess when we come up with programs, we need to make sure that our intent aligns with the impact that we want. I think sometimes we look at size and we want the this number of participants or we want this number of people coming out to an event, but what we want to focus on is really the impact. And I think our recent event that we've had, the Easter extravaganza was one of those type of events where impact was definitely there. I think the numbers were great as well, but just seeing the impact of having an event like that and watching the kids, I'm on stage looking down, so I see all the smiles, I see the kids running around and having a good time, and I think that's really what it's all about.
All right, 2 more questions.
Okay.
They're hot takes.
All right.
1 word to describe Parks and Recs.
Passionate.
I like it. All right, second one. This is a deep thinking one, okay? What do the next 5 to 10 years look like for you?
For me, I think, and you'll probably say the same thing, I'm always like not chasing the next idea, but I'm always like thinking about what's next or what else can we do. And I think for me, it's about really being a little bit more grounded on my mission and my purpose here through the department, but also outside the department. It's not that I want to leave a legacy, but I want to impact people, while I have the time to impact people, whether it's through Parks and Rec or outside of Parks and Rec. So I think for me, it's all about, what is it going to take for me to be successful and the focus that I need to move on. I think this is something that I enjoy, but I do think there's other things that I might be called to do that I'm not doing outside of Parks and Rec.
Yeah. All right. Any other things you have for us since this is your 10th year here?
So yes, but you talked about me returning to Parks and Rec. I think you were with Parks and Rec a while ago, and you returned to Parks and Rec. So what made you come back to Parks and Rec?
Similar story, and I think that anybody who's ever left Louisa and come back probably has the same exact answer. Louisa's just such a unique community where I felt like as a kid, I was always taught, like, try to branch out, see other things, see the greater world. And I did get the opportunity to do that. But at the end of the day, I wanted to feel safe and I wanted to feel at home. And this was the only place that brought me that.
That's funny because I do hear a lot of people, even my kids growing up, it's like, I can't wait to leave Louisa.
Yeah.
And I think when I was a kid or a teenager, I was probably thinking the same thing. I can't wait to leave Louisa. But after you leave and you come back, you realize that this is truly home.
Yeah.
So
I think having kids too, like, puts that into perspective a lot more. It's like, where do I want my kids to grow up and what type of opportunities do I want to have for them? And this job provides me that opportunity to do a little bit of both. I get to, sow back into the community, but I also get to make these exciting things and opportunities for my kids too and their friends. And, hopefully that servant leadership keeps going forward and forward and forward.
So you were involved with Parks and Rec. You talked a little bit about why you wanted to come back.
Yeah.
Long-term, future-oriented, what do you want to achieve or what do you want to see Parks and Rec do differently or impact? What do you want to see us impact?
I think that I'd like for our communication to be a little bit stronger than it is right now. But I think that overall, I want our community to just know that we are here for them. What do they need? We can do our best to accommodate, whether it be financial aid. We have a Bridging the Gap scholarship. Let's talk. We know that not every household is the same. Not everybody's story is the same. And I want to make our programs and our events as accessible to everybody as they can. That's something that I'm pretty passionate about. But for me, I see probably, I don't see me leaving here. I see me staying and just giving back to the community as best as I can and with what I've got.
So talk a little bit about that, though, because I think some people hear us talk about giving back and wanting to sow back into the community. Why is that so important to you?
This is the community that built me. And so I feel like if I have the opportunity to give back even an ounce, that's what it deserves. We have youth here that have a harder home life than some. And if our program is that one opportunity where they feel special, I'm willing to take it. Even if it's just one person that feels that huge impact, it was worth it for me.
So what inspired you to feel this way? I mean, when did you start knowing that, hey, this was a place that you wanted to work?
when I had Oakland, I owned my own business, and I moved back to Louisa and was traveling back and forth, and I realized that was just not sustainable. I was getting burnt out, and I was like, Tyler and I talked about it, and my husband was like, what do I want to do? Where do I want to be? And there was only one place I could possibly think of that I would leave being a stay-at-home mom for, and it was Parks and Recs. And the only reason was because, one, I know the community. I know the atmosphere that I'm walking into. I know that it's solely driven based on what does the community need and what does the community want. And I knew that we were going to make a difference, whether we were working 60 hours a week or 40. I knew that at the end of the day, everybody had the same goal, and it was to make an impact in our community and make it better than how we found it and how we had it growing up.
All right. So one word, if you had one word to describe your leader here at Parks and Rec, what would you say?
One word to describe you?
Yes.
Okay.
What would that one word be?
Loyal.
Loyal.
I think you've shown me what loyalty means, not only just to your team, but above and beyond the community. I think that no matter what, you're always challenging us to dig a little deeper. It's like, okay, I'll come to you and I'll say, James, I have this great idea. I want to do this event. And you're like, okay, but what is it for? Who does it serve? Or this fitness studio next door. It used to be a teen center. And when I was a kid, it served a great purpose and it made a huge impact. There were 12, 15 teenagers, me being one of them, who was served by that room. But as the years went on, the need died, and we didn't have a teen center anymore. We didn't have any teens that needed that. So we were like, what can we do with this space? It's a great opportunity. There was a huge need for health and wellness classes. And I was like, James, what do you think about this? Let's turn it into a fitness studio. But you challenged me with how does it serve? What does it look like? Who could benefit from it? And I think that that's something that I need, because I know that I could run a little wild with my ideas. But the loyalty back to the community is something that I'm truly inspired by you.
Awesome. I'm inspired, not yet. I'm inspired by your energy and your passion as well. And you're very innovative. There's times where I may have a thought or an idea, but I don't know how to put it in place or how to make it work. And you're always like, just tell me, we'll make it work. We'll figure it out. So I think if you describe our relationship and our ability to work together, it's like, it works for us. What you bring to the table is what I need. What I bring to the table is probably what we all need as well. So I'm excited for the future for Parks and Rec. I think we have a strong team, and I think, we're working on building that team and strengthening it even more through character development, some of the things that we're asking them to do, and getting them to think more about the citizens and the impact that our programs have. I think, we're moving in the right direction. So.
Yeah. So if you want to join our team or learn more about what Parks and Recs has to offer, check out our website or check us out on Facebook, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.